A project such as this provides the skill set for the way that things used to be for First Nations people. They used to go out into the bush. They used to fell the trees. They used to build their homes, all utilizing what was around them. And it's going to make anybody feel proud of themselves to be able to learn the skills to go and build your own home and know how to do that, or help somebody else in your community do that.
It's been called the lungs of the earth, the boreal forest. Stretching over half of Canada's landmass, it's the country's biggest ecosystem and one of the largest tracts of ancient forest on the planet. A key component to a healthy earth. For thousands of years, this forest has sustained generations of Aboriginal peoples, providing food, medicine, and shelter. And it's been harvested with respect in a sustainable way. 70% of Canada's First Nations are situated in the boreal forest. One of those communities is Saugeen First Nation in north-central Manitoba. And even though the band's territory encompasses large parts of the forest, here at Saugeen, like elsewhere, traditional reliance on this woodland resource has diminished dramatically. Nowhere is this as evident than in the housing crisis that plagues many Aboriginal communities.
It's always wet here all the time. So it's all sewage and everything in the back on that side. And that's what comes underneath the house, and I think that's where all the moisture comes from.
It's hard to tell by just looking at Colin Corshane's home that it was built just 5 years ago.
I'll show you inside the house where it's all moldy. It's ruining all our beds. Me and my wife don't even sleep in the bedroom anymore. It's a little bit messy in here. Didn't have a chance to clean up today, but you can see the mold already. Right around the whole house, it's like that. This one's the worst one. You can see right in the corner there. You smell that, you can just smell the mold in here. And we got 7 kids that live in here. And we even had rats in here. I've killed a rat that was like this big, man. And his tail was long. And the only reason I knew he was here because I could hear him when he running on the floor. Hear his nails. Yeah, but this house is rotten, man. It shouldn't be like that. You have kids living in a house like this, you know, it's dangerous.
The problem stems from the high price to purchase and ship building materials. Throw in a bureaucracy bent on cutting costs, and the results often see cheap materials being used in substandard construction. The home of Phil Swampy and his family is also just a few years old.
Inside there's the insulation is just black from mold building up.
There's about 7 of us living in this house. It's falling apart. I'm kind of worried about my grandchildren because the house is shifting and there's cracks all over. Like it's not safe to live in.
See, when they jacked up the house, that's what happened. Now the floor's all uneven there, and it's not really worth living in this house, but we had nothing else to do, like we had nowhere to go. And
if I go away for a while, I'm okay. I feel good. My chest is not so sore. And the minute I come home, next day, I start coughing, and I get very sick. I don't want to die. I want to live to see my other grandchildren. As I would want to die from mold or, you know, my house falling apart on me. I just want some help.
I think what we've got is years of neglect by federal governments and provincial governments and so on. We have a housing situation here that is basically third world. We have a waiting list of well over 800 homes. We have infrastructure that's old, that needs to be updated.
If I have to go and live in a tent this winter, I will, if nothing is done. Because this building is gonna kill us.
In Canada, half of all First Nation homes on reserves are contaminated by mold and need repairs, while 20% have water infrastructures that are at high risk for contamination. Overcrowding, along with fire and health hazards, have led to disease and death. All this in communities surrounded by forests teeming with high-quality timber.
It's always been one of my biggest questions is why are we in a housing situation? We live in a forest and we have these massive issues. I think we have got to come together and say that the conditions and the health of the people and the well-being is priority. We have solutions within ourselves and we want to go back to the basics. That's the way things used to be done, working for ourselves and helping each other.
Some First Nations are confronting their housing crisis by reviving traditions like working together as a community and harvesting wood from the surrounding forest. The results are changing how band members build their homes and grow their futures. Plagued by a housing crisis of third world proportions, some First Nations are finding solutions in the forest and in the use of age-old methods of harvesting these resources. For Sagkeeng First Nation, this process begins in winter, when a crew of band members are trained how to log, in a sustainable traditional way, the timbers that they will need.
We use a skidder. It gives them the ability to learn how to run a skidder, how to properly skid, and how to properly fall a block of trees. It's not clear cutting, it's select logging. It is sustainable because you're only taking the mature trees and the big ones that you want for milling. You do very little damage to the bush. The best time is to log in the winter from January until March. In the wintertime, all the sap and stuff is down in the roots, so the trees take less time to dry. And you want to do your logging in the wintertime and you want to mill right next to it in April and then build in the summertime. That's the ideal way to do it. This is an LT40 hydraulic mill.
Brian Monkman is a Métis from Manitoba, and he's an expert builder and trainer. His work with the nonprofit Frontiers Foundation has him teaching Aboriginal people how to build homes from scratch, recently made easier since the invention of this portable mill.
This mill is totally fingertip control. Everything can be run from that set there to the hydraulics here.
The mill is simple to operate.
This is a lifter which lifts the log up. This is a toe board on the far end. This is a toe board on this end. This one is your turner.
Accurate positioning of each log allows for precision cutting.
And she can do it all right from here without ever having to touch the log at all. Being hydraulic, it can lift huge logs and it can cut up to 20 feet in length. It can lift and carry and roll, and it does everything, so you can be a one-man show.
Sagkeeng band members have never done this kind of milling, yet it only takes a couple of hours for 23-year-old Erin Corshane and her co-workers to learn how to do it.
All you really have to do is cut your lumber and you can take it off yourself. It's a very simple process.
The mill costs approximately $26,000. Frontiers owns several, which they transport to different communities.
This technology of this mill, combined with all the rest of it, where you can do everything from the footings to the rafters, and you can cut it all to building code standards. This is where you really make the savings when you can cut all of this stuff, like especially the 2x10s, the 12s and the 16s. That's where the money is. It doesn't take long to add up to a few $1,000s. That's going to be one of the major savings in doing this building, is being able to cut your own lumber.
While the mill helps save the cost of buying and shipping wood from a lumber yard, it also enables band members to practice the tradition of using every part of the harvested resource.
There's no wood that's wasted at all. The only thing that's left behind will be the sawdust. Good job, Aaron. You're getting good at that.
Aaron Corshane is one of several Saugeen First Nation band members who are learning the skills needed to build their own homes.
So this is the living room on this end. There's 2 bedrooms side by side in the back, and you got a large bathroom in the back, which includes your washer and dryer.
This will soon be Aaron's home, where she'll live with her daughter Ava.
I'm very pleased for you. I'm jealous, actually. It's going to be a nice house.
A brand new house for my baby to crawl in.
She's very excited with what she's doing, and I think for her and these other individuals that are doing this project together, I mean, it's phenomenal, and I know that they can take this wisdom and this education that they're receiving, and they can help others in their community as well.
How come it's so wide? I noticed that all the foundations are so narrow.
Well, this is the building code. This is what the building code standards are. It's got to be 10 inches thick and 30 inches wide. And then with your drainage in it.
This program is called Standing Tree to Standing Home and is one of many projects spearheaded by Frontiers Foundation, which has been helping build homes on First Nations since 1964.
Once we pour the footing, there's going to be another wall comes up here 8 inches wide and 12 inches high, and then we'll build our footings off of that. What we do is we give them the basic carpentry skills with pouring the concrete by hand, setting up the forms, learning how to square a building, and you know how to put in weeping tile, you know how to put in drainage, you know all of these little things that are basically one-time things. Once you do them once, you don't forget. It's still a little heavy, still like a little thick. Maybe add just a little bit more. See how much just that little bit of water, how much of a difference it made?
What Frontiers is doing is absolutely incredible. They're providing the skill sets and the training that are required that nobody else out there does yet. They're bringing that to the communities. People want to work and they want to learn their traditions and learn how to work with the environment and all that sort of thing.
We built up this 8-inch concrete and then put a treated board on all the way around and then secured it and then nailed this one to it. So our crawl space is going to be 3 feet from the floor joist, from the top of the floor joist. And then with the heat underneath here, this will dry up beautiful underneath here, and then there's no mold. You don't have to ever worry about mold getting in there because the heat is there, it's dry. Any moisture that does get in there will dissipate just as fast as it comes in.
That's good forage. I like this. This is a fun project for me. It's like I haven't been doing work like this since I was a kid with my dad and my grandpa. What they did back then, from what I understand, is they did favors for each other. You cut my lumber and I'll do something for you later. So I mean, that's the type of work we're doing right now. I've always been a carpenter by trade, like my father and my grandfather. So I like teaching my skills from what my father and my grandfather taught me. Is I'm passing it on to them.
It is a simple idea. It's nothing new. This is the way they done it years ago. Nobody else was there to build them for them, so they had to build their own. This is just getting back to the basic roots and the satisfaction of being able to cut the lumber and build your own home makes you very proud.
Trying to do something about the housing crisis in their community. Saugeen First Nation band members are learning how to build a house from scratch. And they're hoping to make Aaron Corshane's new home the first of many to be built here.
Building a house on your own, you can do it yourself after, and you can help your community after, and that's a lot of pride in that.
That's the whole idea. Build one, Aaron can help them build their home and go on to the next one until they're all done. It's like the old days, where you help your neighbor do it and he'll come and help you do yours. If you have the skills, you've already know how to saw the lumber, you know how to log, you know how to build, you know how to read the blueprints. There's nothing stopping you from going ahead and doing it.
I'd hope to build myself a house, or build a house for one of my kids.
Never did it before, no. So it's my first time. It's good, interesting. I like it.
We're just trying to let them build affordable homes, something that give them some pride and ownership and affordability. Right now, the average bungalow is running about $165,000, and I think we can probably do it for about 60. That's our goal. So you can build two houses for the price of one. The construction of this house, as you can see, everything is just so much more solid and sturdy, and there's no skimping or scraping. You can do everything to code, and you can change up the style of the houses, because you can drive from BC, and I've been to BC to the East Coast several times, and you can tell when you come to Reserve just by looking at the houses. And I want to change that. This whole part of the house from here and here, all of this area here will be a cathedral ceiling, and this one is a living room, so you got two big windows in there, so lots of light. It really opens everything up, because you can do whatever you want, because you are in total control.
This unique approach to properly building affordable homes combines modern tools and techniques with age-old knowledge that's been passed down through generations.
My grandpa traveled all over Manitoba and even Saskatchewan. I think he built homes here and there. Then they had no power tools, they had all hand tools, and he used to make his own furniture for his own home. So, I mean, that's a challenge, yeah. Okay, come this way, bit. Come this way. Come this way. Right there. He was a master carpenter. From my dad's stories, my grandpa used to square off a building just by eye. Never used a measuring tape. My skills are being passed on, and they're picking up pretty fast, so it makes me feel good inside. At least I know my knowledge is not being lost. I get a chance to pass it on to somebody else. All right, we got shims.
Well, I feel pretty good about myself and about our crew here that we have.
They're a good crew. It's basically up to the person themselves if they want to continue on this type of work. I could see most of them want to do that.
Well, it gives them self-esteem. When other jobs come along in the community, whether it be carpentry or whatever it is, they got the basic skills to have the confidence to go and apply for those types of jobs that are there. It's a capacity building, because we're much about building capacity as we are about building houses. So you're glad to be in here?
Yeah, really glad.
It's good. It turned out perfect.
Yep. I really love living here. It's very beautiful. So it's really nice to have my own space, finally. I didn't think it was gonna be this nice. All the space, like the high ceiling, all the big living room and dining room, the big windows. I really like them. I didn't think I'd be able to do it. I never even used a hammer or anything.
She's so proud of having built her own house and, you know, and can sit in the living room and look up at the rafters and say, I cut those rafters for my house. You know, it is very satisfying to see that. And she done all aspects of the work, right from sawing her own lumber to painting, you know, and everything in between.
Over the past half-century, Frontiers Foundation has helped renovate and build more than 2,500 homes in Aboriginal communities across Canada. In the process, they've given hundreds of First Nation band members like Aaron Corshane the skills and training necessary to go from standing tree to standing home.
The difference I think projects like this will make for First Nations is they're going to be utilizing local materials and local people. It's going to keep the jobs and the money in the communities. It's not going to be giving them to somebody else. I think we need to give the power back to the people, and this is doing that. We're going back to the way things used to be. We used to get together as communities and build barns or build communities. We used to look after each other's children, and I think that society needs to get back to those ways again.